Hi everyone, welcome to Honeybee. This video is for anyone who wants to try crocheting but isn't sure where to start. In this beginner-friendly tutorial, I'll walk you through the basics, from the tools and yarn you'll need, how to hold your hook and yarn, how to make a slip knot, and how to do the 3 basic crochet stitches. This is my very first YouTube video, so I hope everything's easy to follow. If you have any feedback or questions, feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Alright, let's get started. Just a reminder that when you start crocheting, you might get really frustrated at the process, but don't forget that everything is a learnable skill and eventually you will get better at crocheting. Here's something that I made when I first started, and here's the same bear after practicing slowly and consistently to get my foundations right. Once you have a good understanding of crochet foundations, you can basically crochet anything to your heart's desire. Secondly, don't forget to take breaks every 25 to 30 minutes when crocheting. When I first started, crocheting continuously caused me to get a minor wrist injury, so please be careful. So first up, supplies and tools. Now you might be wondering, what do I need to start? Well, to begin, you only need a few simple items: yarn, crochet hook, scissors, darning needles, and optionally, stitch markers. Stitch markers are optional, but I really recommend them if you're a beginner to make counting stitches much easier. You would also be able to take a break from your project without the risk of losing any progress by locking in your stitches. But you might be wondering what kind of yarn, there's so many, and what hook size. Well, personally, I would recommend starting out with milk cotton yarn because they're cheap, they come in a wide variety of colors, and are pretty easy to work with. Alternatively, you could also use cord yarn, which is the easiest and most beginner-friendly type of yarn to use, because the threads of the yarn won't come apart compared to milk cotton yarn, but it might be a little bit more expensive and harder to find. For all my videos, I'll be using milk cotton yarn because that's what I prefer the most. For beginners, I would recommend going for a 4.5mm to 5.5mm crochet hook. The exact size would depend on the type of yarn you would use, but for most projects, you'll probably only be using hook sizes from 3.5mm to 5mm. The main difference when using different crochet hooks would be the tightness of your stitches. A smaller hook size would result in smaller, stiffer projects, while a larger hook size would result in bigger, looser ones. Eventually, this would be up to your own preference for the result that you want. But when starting, it's best to go with the medium-sized hook as they are the easiest to hold and control compared to smaller hooks. It's easier to see the stitches that you're making, and it's the most versatile size for most projects. So now, let's learn how to start a project. There are only 2 ways to start a crochet project, which is a slip stitch and a magic circle. Slip stitches are usually used for angular projects like granny squares, while magic circles are used for circular projects like round coasters or a ball for plushies. First, we'll be learning how to make a slip stitch. Start by pinching your yarn and twisting it once like this. Then, insert your thumb into the loop that you just made, pinch the yarn here, and pull until it tightens. You would know you've successfully made a correct slip stitch when pulling on the yarn end tightens it, while pulling on the tail end loosens it. Now let's learn how to properly hold your hook and yarn. Grab your crochet hook and pinch the flat part of your hook between your thumb and index finger. Your other fingers can now gently grab the rest of the hook. This is really similar to how you would hold a kitchen knife. Next, place your slip stitch on your hook and tighten your loop. To hold your yarn, you can loop it around your pinky finger once and then lead it behind and then over your index finger. Now, pinch the tail end with your middle finger and thumb. The yarn should sit comfortably around your fingers and naturally pull itself when you're crocheting. Also, everybody holds their yarn a little differently, so don't be afraid to explore how you like to hold your yarn. And now you're ready to make your foundation chain. Gently press your hook onto the left side of the yarn and use your left hand to guide the string over your hook like this. Next, twist your hook to grab the string and pull it through the loop. Now you've made 1 chain. Continue to hook more chains until you reach your desired length. Today, I'll be hooking a total of 15 chains to make a small square. After you're done making 15 chains, it's time to build up our square using single crochets. First, make 1 chain. This is to support the height of a single crochet when we're building up without losing on the length that we want. Then, slip your hook into the second chain from your hook and pull through 1 loop. Now you should have 2 loops on your hook. Pull another loop through these 2 on your hook and you've made a single crochet. You can now repeat this on your remaining number of chains to finish your row. Once you finish your first row of single crochets, your project should now look something like this. To do your next row, start by chaining once and then flipping over your work. To make your next single crochet, insert your hook into the gap here. Notice how you're sticking your hook through this V shape when viewing it from the top. This is the correct way to stitch on top of your previous stitch. Only looping one side of the V will cause your project to curl, which isn't really the effect that we're looking for today. Also, a small tip, if you're having a hard time seeing your next hole, you can lift your hook a little bit like this to get a clearer view of your next stitch. Continue to work single crochets into every V shape until the end of this row. When you reach the last stitch on this row, it might be a little harder to find your stitch, but just focus on looking for that V shape, and with a little bit of tugging, you should be able to find it. It's also normal for this stitch to be a little bit harder to stick through than the others, so don't be afraid to use a little bit more force than usual to make your single crochet. Once you finish this row, you can chain one, flip, and continue this process until you reach your desired height. Now that I've gotten this square to the size that I want, we can pull the working yarn to extend the loop and remove the hook. Cut the yarn in the middle of the loop and then pull out the end connected to your yarn ball. Now, let's sew in the ends. Thread your yarn through a darning needle and weave it along the sides of your project and into the single crochet stitches. Then, trim any excess yarn. Repeat this for the other loose end. Honestly, the exact method doesn't really matter too much as long as the yarn is secured within the project. If your project is curling at the edges, don't worry. This is common with flat crochet pieces, especially when using single crochets. It's often caused by tension while stitching, but you can fix it with blocking. One easy way is to soak your project in water, lay it flat, and let it dry overnight. Here's my square after blocking. See how much smoother it looks? By now, you should be pretty comfortable with basic stitches. So let's start with half double crochets. Make a slip knot and chain 15 for your foundation. Then, chain 2 more. This adds height for the half double crochet. Now, yarn over and insert your hook into the third chain from your hook. Pull through. You should now have 3 loops on your hook. Then, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, and that's your half double crochet. Keep going until the end of the row. When you get there, chain 2, turn your work, and continue stitching into the V-shaped stitches from the previous row. Now for double crochets. From your foundation chain, chain 2 for the height. Yarn over, insert your hook into the third chain and pull through. You'll now have 3 loops on your hook. Next, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Now you have 2 loops left. Yarn over again and pull through both loops. And that's your double crochet. How you finish your squares now are just rinse and repeats. So what's the difference between these stitches? Well, single crochets are short and tight, and they're great for plushies and sturdier projects. Half double crochets is a balance between tight and stretchy, perfect for blankets and clothes. Double crochets is taller and more open, and they're ideal for drapey fabrics like shawls and lace. Every stitch creates a different texture, so choose what works best for your project. And that's all the basic stitches and info you need to start crocheting. If you'd like to learn how to make a magic circle, check out this video. You'll learn how to crochet a cute and simple bear coaster, perfect for your first project. I hope you learned something from this video, and I wish you the best of luck in your crochet journey. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you'd like more crochet videos in the future.